So you tell me you've got this fear, and that's not particularly interesting by itself, because every human being is equipped with fear. It's not really a reaction. It's part of who we are. That's how we stay alive. Deeply ingrained. We may not think about it, but many of us are afraid of walking on the railroad tracks because we know that might be harmful at certain times of the day. And so fear, in general, is part of the equation. And you say that you have a specific fear of a specific thing, otherwise known as a phobia. And a phobia is the kind of fear that doesn't make as much sense in the long run as being afraid of walking on the railroad tracks. So what we know about phobia is that a lot of times it's something that plays into the natural function of fear in human life in a way that just isn't as efficient in the long run as we would like to be in order to live a fully functioning life. You tell me about this phobia, then you're very specific. It's a fear of blood, which is interesting, really, because it tells me that you are very analytical. You've come across a fear that is very specific. Doesn't really matter how it happened, except that when it did happen, it was probably legitimate. And that's okay. We've already established that fear is part of how we stay alive and protect ourselves. And in the long run, we've also established that certain fears don't have to stay around because the danger isn't permanent. So that is what taking care of phobias is really all about. It's efficiency, really, and since we've established that you're analytical, you understand this, and you've already expressed this much to me. And that's great. That means we're more than halfway home. And since we've established that you're analytical and you have a desire to leave this formally useful reaction behind, we can say that you're going to put your analytical mind to work and do some research on what blood is, what purpose it serves, and how marvelous, really, a phenomenon of nature it is. While we're sitting here talking and listening and thinking and relaxing, we know from school that our consciousness is being fueled by this incredible factory, which is fueled by the blood in our body. We know it's protein, and it contains many parts, including plasma, which is liquid, and we know it delivers oxygen to every part of our body, including our brains, which is what is how we're processing both these conscious ideas and the unconscious fear and the subconscious desire to get over it. So we see that in this particular case, blood is part of the organic whole. And so it's clear that since you're analytical and desiring to get over this, you could do some reading online about the marvelous properties and understanding of blood. And it really can be as simple as that. Even as we're talking and listening and relaxing, knowing that we're already more than halfway into our outcome, we can safely assume that you're already past it. That after you learn a couple of things about it and think about it, you can decide to leave it behind, like maybe something when you were a child used to be afraid of. And one day you realize, like, wow, I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. I just got up and went to the bathroom and went back to my bed automatically without turning the light on, without thinking that the light was off, and it's just natural. And just like you can look back and say, yeah, you know, when you're a kid, it's pretty normal to be afraid of the dark. And I used to be afraid of that thing, and now that I've thought about it and learned about it, I don't need it anymore. That's okay. It really can be as simple as that. And quite frankly, as we mentioned previously, I don't have to go and research tons of data on why people have a particular phobia. Doesn't mean anything. It's just that it's kind of like when you get caught repeating yourself in a conversation. You know you're repeating yourself. It can be a little embarrassing, but it's also kind of funny because you're thinking to yourself while you're repeating yourself, why am I repeating myself? It's just a foible, a quirk in conversation. And as you become aware of it, you might become a little self-conscious and do it a little more, and then you laugh, and then you stop doing it. Same thing with a phobia. Just kind of like getting stuck or making the same wrong turn a couple times. Everyone's had the experience of getting lost in one of those spiral parking garages, and so you just pull the car over and say, why am I driving in circles? I know I want to get out of this parking garage, and I know there is a way out because I came in, and I'm just tired, a little confused, so I'm going to sit here and figure out which right turn I have to make to get out of this parking garage, and then I'll be out of it. And it'll be something I laugh about later tonight or tomorrow or even a couple of years from now. Just like this phobia, which is just like anything else, not really a big deal in the long-term scheme of things. It's something you were occupied with almost like a hobby for a short period of time in a long life. And now that you have acknowledged that you want to get past it, and you've thought about it, and we've talked and listened and relaxed and made a couple funny observations. It's really as simple as that. You can put it aside, leave it behind, and move forward. And you can tell your friends maybe how easy it was to get over it, or maybe write a blog post about it, or maybe even forget about it because you're moving on to something else. And that's okay. I'm so glad that we communicated about this and we took the time just to think about it. View it at arm's length and say, well, I'm done with that. Let's move on to the next thing.